Hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi here on this Saturday night. I'm going to start off with some really good news. I've been not necessarily complaining, but pointing out that whenever we have to do show you the European model, we can only show it to you in 24-hour increments. Well, that's changed. And I want to give special thanks to weather.us. I put the link up on the chat if you want to check it out. We are going to be able to, and I'm going to show you some of the European in-between maps, and we are going to be able to use that quite a bit going forward. So I'm really, really excited about that, and it really works out well tonight because we have a very big forecast problem with this storm in the Northeast for tomorrow. It's being complicated by the fact that we have this large storm that's going to develop with all the energy in the upper atmosphere, but we also have the possibility of multiple low centers because of what's going on down to our south. We have Tropical Storm Philippe, which is now heading into the Florida Straits, and we also have another low center that's off the southwest coast of Florida that's involved with that, and somehow models are having a difficult time with this. Some of them are showing multiple low centers. Some of them, like the European, showing it all consolidating into one strong low moving up the East Coast. And that really impacts the wind field. That bang you just heard is my cat over my shoulder went into the top shelf of the cabinet and just pulled out a tray filled with all the vitamins. He's trying to get into the fish oil. Boy, I get comic relief here, don't I? So you know what? While I clean up the mess, you guys look at the weather, and I will be back, and we'll get into the conversation in just a bit. So just stand by. Part of this, the southern low, the southernmost low that's in the northern Bahamas there, that is a Tropical Storm Philippe. And then you have we're going to start off tonight with the European model. And this is what the European is doing with respect to winds tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. You can look at all the purple area over Long Island into southeastern New York and parts of southern New England. It has, and there's the scale on the bottom. So basically, it's showing this large area of hurricane force gusts from just east of the New Jersey shore, where the gusts are, by the way, at 48 miles an hour or higher, to all the way east out over Long Island Sound, southern Connecticut, and so on. The reason why the European is doing this is because it winds up, and I will put the surface map on now instead. This is what the European has. One low center just west of New York City with a 979 pressure. All right, and that's important because of the fact that it has one low center and not multiple low centers. This is one of the big differences between the European and some of the other models. Now, here's the new GFS model, and look at what's going on here. You've got multiple low centers here. Part of this, the southern low, the southernmost low that's in the northern Bahamas there, that is a tropical storm Philippe. And then you have multiple low centers. This is tomorrow morning from North Carolina, Virginia, North Carolina is a broad area of low pressure there, and then a low center that's out east of the South Carolina coast. Now, as we move into the afternoon, the non-tropical low is east of North Carolina. The tropical system is to the south. And when we move into tomorrow evening, you see how the model really has them as separate entities. Okay, so it has a tighter gradient for the coast, but not much of a gradient when you get back down through coastal New Jersey down to Delaware. And then you still have at 2 a.m. Multiple centers, the reflection of the tropical system out in the ocean, and then the non-tropical low sitting up in upstate New York. This is an important difference in the models that needs to be rectified somehow. One of these models is going to be wrong with this. You can see the wind field on the GFS for tomorrow evening, so much different than the Europeans. There's not that much wind being produced except for over Long Island where there's gales, and the strongest winds are offshore. Now I'm going to switch over to the NAM model from this afternoon to show you that that has an even different wind field because it has much more of a consolidated look like the European does, with one low center near Cape May, and that is the primary low. You really don't see any other reflection. You really, there's one low sitting here in New Jersey. It does have another L that it prints out in the ocean with strong winds over Long Island and into southern New England. But again, even on the NAM, the winds in New Jersey, for example, are not that strong. It's not until after the low goes by to the north later on Sunday night into Monday morning that you wind up with these very strong gusty winds for just about all of the area here on the back side. Why do we have all these multiple centers? Well, let's look at the satellite loop on the wide view here. You're seeing here's Tropical Storm Philippe, the center of which is moving across Cuba and moving to the eventually moving out to the northeast. But there's actually a second low center that's sitting off the southwest coast of Florida that is involved here. So you have two distinct lows. Here's your deep trough that's amplifying down from the Great Lakes into the central Gulf of Mexico. Strong south-southwest winds developing along the eastern seaboard, and this all gets carried up to the north. If this winds up consolidating into one low, like the European has, and to a lesser extent the NAM, you're going to have a stronger wind field later tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening as the storm comes up, followed by strong winds behind it. If you wind up with multiple centers, like the GFS implies, then you're going to have much less of a wind field when the storm system comes up, and you'll still have the strong gusty winds on the backside. Here's a close-up view of the Philippe, the center of which is right down, moving over Cuba and then out into the Florida Straits. But there's that second low center here that's off the southwest coast of Florida. Now, the GFS kind of merges the two together during the overnight and into tomorrow morning. That remains to be seen whether that is going to be the case or not. But the multiple centers really are the big problem here in terms of the forecast and trying to figure out who's going to get what in terms of wind. I think Long Island is going to see some strong winds later tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, particularly Suffolk County, where they have a high wind warning up already, and also for most of coastal Connecticut. If it winds up that the one low center forms and absorbs the tropical system completely, then we're going to be dealing with a much larger area of gales. This NAM map, by the way, is for Monday morning. Now, in terms of rainfall, I'm going to go back to the GFS here, and we'll look at the rain, because the GFS does wind up producing a fair amount of rain here for much of the area. Will get tighter, and the white is 2 inches. The purple areas, you start to get into some 3-inch plus amounts. You can see that it's pretty ample up in northern Pennsylvania through up into north central New York. You got these little gaps here and there. There's that streak of rain because of, again, the multiple centers are now kind of sort of dividing where all the heavy rain is, so you're going to have concentrations of it. There's one concentrated area that runs from northern New Jersey on up the Hudson Valley, western Connecticut, and western Long Island, with lesser amounts to the east. I'm going to go back to the European model now. By the way, once again, I want to give credit and thanks to weather.us for making these available to us, and we'll be able to use these now on a daily basis. It's going to be wonderful to be able to look at the in-between views of the models as opposed to just seeing them every 24 hours. I'm going to try and bring up the precip on the European. Now here's the European's precip, the scale on the bottom. So the orange areas, this is total run precip through 10 p.m. tomorrow night, where we've got the orange areas all 2-inch plus rains, and you could see some areas that get up into the purplish areas, which are running up close to 4 inches in some places. The yellows indicating 1.2 to 2 inches. So it's a pretty large area of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast that gets into some decent rainfall around here. I'll go out into Monday morning so we can get maybe, we'll add on the final rainfall total amounts. And there you have where the 2-inch rains are. Western Long Island, New York City, you start to get into some 3 and 4 inch amounts as you go out to the west, especially across Pennsylvania and on up into north central New York. So again, the key to all of this is going to be whether we wind up with a single low center, or are we going to wind up with multiple low centers with this storm that is moving up the East Coast. So just stand by, and I'm going to switch over, and we'll chat a little bit more. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that the cat has really caused me a problem tonight by confusing me as to when my audio is turned on and turned off. I'm apologizing for that. Okay, so always smiling. Ireland, UK, big freeze. I'm looking at the temperatures. I mean, I notice it gets pretty far below normal next weekend on the GFS anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn to look at this a little closer and figure it out. I mean, it does have temperatures pretty far below normal next weekend. I don't see anything in the short term, however. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really until maybe next weekend. But, I could be wrong again, because I'm not really familiar with the climate up there, in terms of day to day, and as far as forecasting it is concerned. So, if we can't get a few inches of rain out of this, I'm going to really start to doubt whether it'll ever rain again. It just seems like certainly the dynamics are there. No, Alicia, not like Sandy. Okay, totally different setups. I know. There's it's almost reflexive for everybody up here to do that. To jump on the Sandy bandwagon because of what Sandy did. It certainly scarred a lot of folks, and rightfully so. But each one of these needs to be looked at in a different context. they're never really exactly the same, with regards to tracks and the meteorology that's surrounding it. And this is just not. This is totally different, and this is going to be very fast, by the way. And there's some, it really technically it's not a nor'easter. Because actually for most of the area along the coast, the winds are going to be either east or southeast for that matter. So it's probably more of a southeaster or a sou'easter than anything else. But it's not really a nor'easter. You have a deepening storm intensifying. A nor'easter usually is a slow-moving system that passes by to the south of most of the mid-Atlantic states and the southern areas of the Northeast and produces a prolonged period of northeast winds. That is not the case this time around. Aaron Yonkers, look on, if you go to weather.us, okay, if you go to weather.us at the main page, you should be able to, near the top, there should be a link for the models somewhere. Let me pull it up in front of me so I know what I'm talking about. Oh, hang on. Weather.us. Okay, so you're going to want to click on. I found it before. Why am I not seeing it now? Oh boy, now I'm having trouble. Observations. I'll tell you what, I'll put the link up while I go figure this out. I found it before with pretty easily. Oh, okay. Go down, just scroll down the page a little bit. You're going to see a map that says model charts. Okay. And there's a temperature map there. Just click on that and it'll take you to the model page. All right. I'll put that link up, and then once you're on the model page, you can change all the parameters you'd like. There you go. Yeah, Keith, there's a chance that we could finish with more rain than what's being shown. Certainly the dynamics could support that. The only thing is, lately with these storms, every time we try to make it rain, or every time it seems like we're going to get a fair amount of rain, it doesn't seem to happen. And the wind up is that the models show much more than what reality produces. So that's been an ongoing pattern for the most part this year. There have been a few exceptions to that, but I would think in a situation like this, it's certainly possible that we could wind up with more than what's being modeled. South Central PA, Tech Man. I mean, you'll probably get an inch or two of rain out of this. You should be okay. I mean, you get breezy at times. It's not most of the wind and the heavier rain, I think, are going to be north and east of you, but you will get some rain out of this tomorrow. Danilo, the Euro. Well, I mean, it's not really a warm core. That's a whole cold core system that we're dealing with. It just absorbs the whole tropical system. That's coming down. And by the way, it was great to meet you last weekend at the Angry Ben meet and greet that we had. Do I think the euro is going to hold true? Well, you know what? The European through all of this has been very consistent with the idea of having, basically one low center controlling everything. Usually in situations like this, the European is the one that does better. I think by tomorrow morning, we're going to know, because wherever the position is of the tropical system, if the European has it east of the central Florida coast, actually east-northeast of the central Florida coast, so if it winds up being there as one low center, then the European may be the winner here, in which case the wind field is going to be more extensive and cover a larger area, and the winds are going to be stronger than what's being modeled by the GFS, because the GFS, again, has multiple centers. I'm in Florida. I'm thinking about taking my kids to see snow for Christmas vacation. How far north do you have to go? You want to guarantee, Randy, take them up to the snow belts in upstate New York or around the Great Lakes. If, that's the only answer I could give you now. I mean, you want to go by probability. Those areas have the highest probability of having snow on the ground and or snow coming down out of the sky. Not going to really know until we get into the short range with regards to this. Do I think they wouldn't issue flood advisories? As far as coastal flooding is concerned, Ethan, I don't think this is going to be a tidal flooding situation, mainly because of the fact that it's all happening so quickly, and we are in a first quarter moon phase. If we were going into this with days and days of northeast winds, then I would probably be giving you a slightly different answer. But if this were a full moon this weekend, I would probably be giving you a different answer as well. I tend to think that tidal flooding here is not going to be a huge deal, except maybe in the most vulnerable of areas, there might be some minor at worst, I would say maybe some pockets of moderate coastal flooding, but I'm just not seeing it with regards to this. And those of you who've joined late, the cat has been going crazy. Now the dog is acting up. This has been a very interesting night. The models, the other thing I want to be cautious too is the mid-cycle run of the GFS has hiccuped a lot lately. So, the run from midday matched up fairly well with the European, and actually, I was kind of surprised at how well it matched up. But the late afternoon mid-cycle run kind of got squirrely again. But as I said, lately we've been seeing it going to getting squirrely on those mid-cycle runs. Rainfall flooding, well, for northern New Jersey, north of Route 78, there is a flash flood watch up, and I think it's possible that there might be some pockets that get enough rain to cause some flash flooding. I think it's possible. Again, I kind of want to be cautious here, if only because of the fact that we seem to get burned every time it looks like we're going to get a heavy rainfall. Lidl Griffin, why is the southeaster moving so fast? Well, we've got this really powerful jet lifting up very rapidly. The trough coming around the base of the jet stream and lifting up to the northeast is doing it at a very fast rate of speed. There's no real blocking in the atmosphere to slow it down, so this thing just kind of takes off like a rocket ship and shoots right up. There was lake effect snow near Madison. Well, I mean, I know up in northern Wisconsin and on up near Lake Superior that is the case, 99 Wolves. But if you're saying it was there, I'm sure it was. That's awesome. You're getting your first snows of the year. This first the snow squall warning, they're planning to give it out for very heavy snow bands. Well, you know what? Another warning to try to figure out and understand that everybody's going to get confused over, I think. Do I think we get intense wind and thunderstorms? Again, awesome gamer. It's going to depend on which model is correct. Multiple low centers. That area of strong winds tomorrow evening will be smaller and confined to eastern areas. If it's like the European, then you will have a larger area of winds. After the storm goes by and moves to the north, there is going to be strong winds for everybody from the northwest. So that's one thing we are going to have, that everybody's going to have. Sunday night into the first part of Monday, we'll have strong gusty northwest winds, 20 to 30 miles an hour, with gusts up into the 40s on the backside. That's correct, Danilo. As far as the longer range is concerned, again, it looks like the pattern's going to relax a little bit. I didn't look at what the mid-cycle squirrel run did on the GFS today, but let me take a look at that real fast. Let's see. So trough pulls out. Yeah, it looks like that flat ridge in the east. Basically a westerly flow. Ridge tries to pop up during the first weekend of November, and then it kind of hangs around, right through into mid-month. So it doesn't look, it's not strong, but there is going to be a ridge in the east, trough in the west again. So this pattern change we've had apparently will be temporary, and we're going to go back to more of a ridge position. Okay, folks, let's call it a night. We will try and get a live stream done tomorrow morning. I'm going to be working TV tomorrow afternoon and evening, so maybe I'll do another live stream tomorrow night. Probably, figure around 6 or 7 o'clock, or maybe after football's done. I'll see. I'll see what my timing is like. In the meantime, you can check out the website at meteorologistjoecioffi.com. Angry Ben's got New York City, NYCweathernow.com, weatherlongisland.com for all the latest on Long Island. And you can check out more weather and other stuff on my Facebook page. Thank you for those of you who occasionally hit the super chat button. I really appreciate it. And also those of you who have thrown some coin into my PayPal. I also really appreciate that very much. We will see you on Sunday.